Good evening, Cyprus. Andronicos here again. I'm going to talk about something that is very important. It is something that a lot of people have put a lot of weight in the coming elections, and that is immigration and refugees. Firstly, I want to give you my background, although it is all in my bio on my website, andronicos.cy. I come from a family where we have the extended family have directly or indirectly been refugees 3 times. My grandmother, who was born in Constantinople, Turkey, fled the country 100 years ago. My family had to leave Egypt in the early 1960s because of Pan-Arabism. More recently, the 1974 Turkish invasion affected members of my extended family. So the term, "I know how you feel," is actually a pretty silly term because nobody knows what somebody feels because we're not you. However, when it comes to immigration and refugees, I've really put a lot of thought into it. And before saying my opinion, how I will deal with it, if I'm elected, and I will propose it's dealt with at the European Parliament level, is I had to look at myself in the mirror before doing this, because my family have been there. And if it wasn't for the kindness of other countries, I wouldn't be alive. However, let's now move forward so I can explain my solution to illegal immigration. Okay, let's give an analogy. Let's imagine you are the captain of this beautiful ocean liner. It's one of these ships that has 2,000 passengers. And you're in the Mediterranean and you see this family that are holding on to pieces of wood because they've been shipwrecked. There was a storm, they're drowning. Well, what are you going to do if you're the captain? It goes without saying. You will rescue them. It's more than a human act of kindness. It is under international law. You will rescue that family. This family is brought on board. They're given food. They're given water. They're given a cabin. And the next morning, they come down and say, "We'd like an upgrade to first class. We don't want to go to Italy, which is your destination. Please drop us off in the south of France." Okay? That would be like rather... Such a thing wouldn't happen, but it would be pretty annoying if it did. Now, I'm saying when people really have a need, we should have a way to help them. And let's face it, how many of our parents and grandparents in 1974, after the Turkish invasion, went to Britain, went to South Africa, went to Australia, and were allowed to live there? So we've got to look at it in every angle. However, what I find absolutely unacceptable is people pretending they're refugees, saying, "Oh, we're underage. In fact, they got beards down to here, but yeah, we're actually 16. That's unacceptable. So how will I handle it? How would I handle illegal immigration or suspected refugees that are not? My solution is simple. The moment boats arrive with illegal immigrants claiming asylum, within 2 days, we ship them or send them on a plane to a third outside of the EU country. It could be Albania. Italy and Albania are currently doing a deal. It could be another country. Hey, maybe even Turkey. They are holding some refugees on behalf of the EU. And while they are there, I don't mean we keep them in a concentration camp like Nazi Germany did. I'm saying we look after them, we feed them, and we let them get processed. By that I mean, with using modern technology, video conferencing, they can have access to lawyers to put forward their case. However, upon arrival on a boat, I am proposing everybody gets fingerprinted. Everybody who arrives illegally in a country is automatically put in the EU arrest warrant system, so that if they are removed from the country, which could be Cyprus or whichever, there is a record of who they are. They're photographed, fingerprinted. If they ultimately win their asylum case, all that data is deleted. So we're now in this holding third country, such as Albania. By the way, I'm absolutely against the British method of Rwanda. There are some concerns about Rwanda, but we can find countries. We, as the European Union, will pay them to house these people for processing, and within a few weeks or the low months, which at any time they could leave, they're not held prisoner, they could leave and go back to a country that will have them, is they will be processed. Out of those that have the right to stay in the EU temporarily will be assigned a place to live within reason. They can't choose which country. They can't do this. They will be allowed. We've got to be humane. But everybody else are removed from the EU, and if they dare to come again, if they dare, they're immediately, because there's a record of their photo, of their fingerprints, is immediately removed from the European Union. I am not a racist person. I love people. I don't care what color they are. But I absolutely object to people taking advantage of hospitality. And if my neighbor, who is a good friend of mine, if I was hungry, he'd feed me. If I needed a home because mine burnt down, he'd house me. But what if I brought all my relatives and wanted to stay there for years? Then that would be pushing the boundary. There's one other thing I want to add, is we can use technology. We have technology, we have AI to monitor the boundaries of the European Union. Any little boats that start arriving, it can trigger alarms for Coast Guards. So I'm saying we pick them up, we process them, we take them to a third country outside the EU that's safe, and they are processed there. That's my solution. And as for the people who they pay thousands to smuggle them in the country, the captains of the boats, I propose a minimum of 5 years in jail, which could mean 7 years because there's parole and you're allowed out earlier. 5 years, minimum. That will stop people being brought over by boats. And there's one other little caveat to that, and that is, we as Europe, if it was a free society where there were no wars, we wouldn't have so many refugees. And I'm going to cover one of those sections later, how we can minimize wars, minimize refugees. We are human beings. Let's treat them with respect, but let's not allow anybody to take advantage of Cyprus or the European Union. Thank you.